Hello everyone. So welcome to the chapter 19. It's a part 2 of chapter 19, taxation and economic efficiency. So in this part basically we will just cover the parts which are important with respect to our examination, university examination. So I'll try to cover it quickly. So we will left at taxation of savings in part 1. So we will continue from there only. So taxation of savings. So first of all, like understand one thing, that income, like with income, what suppose like we have two goods, so we kind of make decisions that how we going to spend our income on these two goods. So similarly now individuals decision regarding the allocation of income could be like two goods or two commodities, could be consumption in this period and the other one is consumption in the future. So we are taking the consumption in two different time periods as a two commodities, and we will see that how individual will decide that to basically allocate his income in these two periods. So for example, if we give a $1 of consumption today, what it means, like if we are giving a $1 of consumption today, it means like we are saving $1 for today. And if we let's say this saved money we deposited in a bank and we earn in a bank, right? And we will earn some interest rate, let's say that interest rate is r, so we will obtain 1 plus r of extra consumption next period, because we will that $1 will become 1 plus r dollars in the next time period. So we would have this much money to consume extra in the next period. So this is what it is about. Now we will look at the price of future consumption. Price means like that how much consumption today we need to give up for 1 unit of consumption tomorrow. इसका मतलब है कि मतलब हमें कितना कंजप्शन आज छोड़ना पड़ेगा जिससे कि हम 1 यूनिट ऑफ कंजप्शन कल ले लें. जैसे कि लेट से हमारी हम एप्पल्स ले लेते हैं, ठीक है. तो मैं एक एप्पल खाती हूँ आज, मतलब डेली में एक एप्पल खाती हूँ. तो लेट से मैं आज अगर एक एप्पल को, मतलब मुझे कितना कंजप्शन यानी कितने एप्पल्स आज छोड़ने पड़ेंगे जिससे कि मैं कल या फिर लेट से आफ्टर 1 ईयर मैं एक एप्पल डेली खा पाऊँ. तो मुझे कितना कंजप्शन आज कट करना पड़ेगा, अपना सेव करने पड़ेंगे पैसे कितने. सो $1 टुडे विल बिकम 1 प्लस आर डॉलर टुमारो. इट मीन्स लाइक मान लो कि हम $1 से 1 यूनिट ऑफ गुड खरीद पा रहे हैं आज. सो वही 1 यूनिट हमें टुमारो खरीदने के लिए लाइक वी नीड 1 प्लस आर यूनिट्स, राइट. तो 1 यूनिट ऑफ कंजप्शन टुमारो वुड बी इक्वल टू वॉट. इसको हम इधर डिवाइड में ले जाएंगे, दैट इज 1/1 प्लस आर यूनिट ऑफ कंजप्शन टुडे. So this is also showing the relative price of future. This is the price of consumption. Now we will look at the cases, like how the decisions regarding consumption and the consumption in today period and consumption in next period, that how we are allocating our income. So for example, there are few cases which we will look at through this exam or through this figure. So this is we have a budget constraint here. C dash is the consumption today and 1 plus r c dash is the consumption next period. Obviously, like if we will not consume today anything, our whole income will be saved and we will earn our interest rate in future. And so the total amount of consumption that we would have in next year would be this. And let's say we are not borrowing or saving anything. We are earning like W naught. This is the wage in this period. This is what we are earning in this period, and we are consuming this whole today only. Like जो भी हमें आज, like let's say my salary for a day today is 100 rupees and I am expending my whole 100 rupees. Like I'm consuming the whole 100 rupees. So I'm consuming today, and let's say W1 is my week next period. Like tomorrow I'm earning 100 rupees again or 200 rupees, and I'm consuming that also fully in the next period. So it is like I'm not saving anything, I'm not borrowing anything, I'm just consuming whatever my income is. So this W is point is basically showing that W naught and W1, these are the consumptions level equal to the wages. That's it. And similarly, like this budget constraint is giving us the trade-off basically between the present consumption and the future consumption. Let's say if we are here on this line, it means what? It means that we are consuming this much right now and this much in the next period, right? And let's say if we are borrowing, it means what? That we are consuming more today at the expense of consuming less next year. So if there is a case of borrowing, it means we will move to the right of W on BC. So this is our budget constraint. And if there is a case of a borrowing, we will move to this direction in case of a borrowing. Because in this example, let's see if we are consuming, let's say here, this is some C naught dash and this is some C1 dash. Okay. So our income of today is this, but we are consuming this much. So जो extra है वो कहाँ से आ रहा है? We are borrowing this money. So whenever we are borrowing, we will move to the right of this we will move right to the W on this budget constraint. And similarly, whenever we are saving, we will move left to this W on this budget constraint. Let's say here we are consuming this much. So it means like this is our income and this much we are consuming. So this is savings, right? We are saving this much and we're using the savings to purchase more consumption in today, in future. So that's what it is. Now this is budget constraint that we have already talked about. Now indifference curve. Indifference curve basically give the combination of current and the future consumption that leaves the individual at the same level of a utility. तो बेसिकली हमने अभी तक माइक्रो में क्या पढ़ा था, लाइक हाउ इंडिविजुअल चूजेस इट्स पोजीशन, चूजेस अ पॉइंट, और अपना कंजप्शन चूज करना है तो कैसे वो चूज करता था कंजप्शन पॉइंट्स. ही चूज इट एट द टेंजेंट or interaction of IC with budget constraint, right? Because budget constraint हमें बताता है कि what is our ability, हमारे पास कितना budget है, how much we can expend actually. And indifference curve talks about the willingness, मतलब how much we are willing to consume, what we prefer to consume. It's tell about ability. So when these both interact, then only we will able to reach to a point in real life जहाँ पे हम जितना consume करेंगे, right? So here like we are considering two cases one by one. First is of a saving and then we will discuss borrowing case. So in case of a saving, we have discussed already that the individual choose point in case of saving to the left of this W. So let's say there's a point E that individual has chosen, and at this point basically our IC is tangent to budget constraint and this is a saving. Okay, saving would be W naught minus CW. Similarly, in case of borrowings, the individual choose a point E that is right to this W, and at a point where IC is tangent to the budget constraint, and our borrowings would be this difference, C naught minus W naught. Now we will look, अभी तक जो हमने पढ़ा, we was talking about कि how the individual will decide a point of his consumption जब कोई tax नहीं था. But now we have a tax. So we will see कि how this tax will going to affect his choices or decision regarding the consumption in different time periods. So let's say tax is T, it's a proportional tax on interest income. So it is not on income only. Let's say his income is W, it is on the interest of this income. R is the interest, right? So interest income would be like RW. So the tax is on that interest income. And there's a assumption we are taking here that if a person is a borrower, let's say, so if somebody is borrowing, he's not earning anything, right? He's already has to pay somebody else. He's not saving anything. If he's not saving, he has not deposited anything to the bank, तो उसको कोई interest rate भी नहीं मिलेगी. So we are considering कि उसकी negative interest rate है, because उसको वैसे भी he's not going to earn from interest because he's a borrower, he's not saving anything. So in this case, we will consider negative tax नेगेटिव टैक्स मीन्स कि बोरोअर रिसीव करेगा मनी फ्रॉम गवर्नमेंट. अगर पॉजिटिव टैक्स होता है तो व्हाट वी डू, वी गिव मनी टू द गवर्नमेंट. बट इन केस ऑफ अ नेगेटिव टैक्स, we will receive money from the government. We are looking for a case of a saver. So there is a saver, and let's say he's consuming less today, less than his or her first period wage income after tax. So we are talking about now after tax. So in this case, like, taxes has two effects. So टैक्स को ना ऐसे समझो, लाइक व्हेन वी वर स्टडिंग अबाउट द प्राइस, फिर उसका हमने देखा था कि लाइक इफ प्राइस इंक्रीजेज तो इट हैज़ सब्स्टिट्यूशन इफेक्ट एंड इनकम इफेक्ट. Like a commodity is becoming relatively expensive, so he reduces the demand for that good. In case of income, price increases. That depends, like if individual is getting better off or worse off. He's getting better off, he will increase the demand for that good, or he's getting worse off, he will reduce the demand for that good. So in this case, like the relative income would decrease uski, so he will kind of reduces the demand for it on different cases. So similarly, take taxes as the price only. Like if there is a tax on that, it means like it is affecting his income, obviously. So it has a two effects, substitution effect and income effect. So if we look in the first period, like wage income will definitely reduce, because now he has to pay the tax on the interest rate. So now, because the overall income because of tax would reduce, so in this case what happens, when we can say like consumer or the individual is getting worse off. If an individual goes worse off, what he'll do, he'll consume less in this period. Both the goods, like uh, consumption in general will reduce, right? Okay, so he will consume less. When he's consuming less, what it means that he's saving more, so his saving will increases. Similarly, if we look at the substitution effect, that let's say that if we are like we have a tax imposed on interest rate, so now the returns that was representing by the arts on our income is also reduced. Like पहले हमें 10% ऑफ इंटरेस्ट मिल रही थी, लाइक वी वर सेविंग 100 रुपीज़, तो हमें वी विल गेट 110. ठीक है, इनकम 100 रुपीज़ थी, तो वी विल गेटिंग 110. This is our like the interest income, right? Interest income तो like we have a 10 only. This is the total income, like हमारी increase होगी 110. But now there is a tax on this there's a tax on this tax income interest, or income interest income, sorry. So उसकी वजह से क्या हुआ, इसके जो returns थे from postponing consumption would reduce, बिकॉज टैक्स लग गया. तो अब वो 10 की जगह मान लो टैक्स हमारा लगा 1% और 5%, तो मान लो कि उसका जो पहले 110 मिलने वाले थे आफ्टर द टैक्स इंटरेस्ट के बाद, नाउ ही इज जस्ट अर्निंग 102 और 105, तो देयर इज अ रिडक्शन देयर. So because now he is expecting lower returns in future because of the imposition of tax, so it also discourages the future consumption, because कोई फ़ायदा नहीं लगेगा उसको, क्योंकि मैं अगर सेव कर रहा हूँ तो टैक्स तो वैसे भी लग रहा है. आई वोंट बी एबल टू कंज्यूम मोर इन द नेक्स्ट पीरियड ऑल्सो बिकॉज ऑफ टैक्स. मेरी इनकम बढ़ नहीं पाएगी उतना नेक्स्ट पीरियड में भी. तो दिस विल डिस्करेज फ्यूचर कंजप्शन एंड एनकरेज करेंट कंजप्शन. And if he would go more about the current consumption, he would not be able to save more, so this will reduce the savings. So these two effects are offsetting, like are working in the opposite direction. Income effect is saying that increase savings, substitution effect is saying decrease savings. So the net effect would be ambiguous. We are not we don't I'm not we are not sure about it. So let's say if there is a case जहाँ पे हमारा income effect offset कर देता है completely substitution effect को और dominate करता है, in that case there is an encouragement or our savings would increase. But there's a case if substitution effect offset income effect completely, in that case it would reduce or discourage our savings. So there are two cases. Now we look at सो दिस इज़ अ केस जहाँ पे हमारा इनकम इफेक्ट इज़ कम्प्लीटली ऑफसेट कर रहा है सब्सटीट्यूशन इफेक्ट को, और बोथ दीज इफेक्ट्स आर इक्वल बेसिकली. इफ बोथ दीज इफेक्ट्स आर इक्वल, आवर सेविंग्स वुड नॉट चेंज, सेविंग वुड रिमेन सेम. बिकॉज हमने यहाँ पे क्या देखा था, व्हेन इनकम इफेक्ट इज मोर it increases savings. When substitution effect is less, income effect is less than substitution effect, is reducing savings. So when substitution effect would be equal to income effect, it will not change savings. Savings would remain unchanged. Okay, so now how we will see this through a graph. Like this C dash and this, like this black line is a before tax line, budget constraint, and we were here somewhere like E point पे थे हम. We were consuming C naught, and हमारी जो work like waste थी वो W point पे थी, like we were earning W naught in this time period, और ये हमारी savings थी, right, this much. अभी क्या हुआ आफ्टर टैक्स, क्योंकि हमारा लाइक आफ्टर टैक्स क्या हुआ, इट्स मोर लाइक अ प्राइस. अगर हमारा टैक्स इन लाइक वी आर इम्पोजिंग टैक्स, तो हमारा जो स्लोप था उसको क्या होगा, दैट वाज लाइक 1+R को क्या होगा, दिस इज अवर रिटर्न्स थे फ्यूचर में. टैक्स की वजह से दीज रिटर्न्स विल फॉल, ये रिटर्न्स फॉल हो गए, इट मीन्स स्लोप विल फॉल. स्लोप फॉल हो गया, सो वो बजट कंस्ट्रेंट वुड बिकम मोर फ्लैटर. दैट्स वाई अवर बजट कंस्ट्रेंट इज फ्लैटर हेयर. एंड हम देखते थे लाइक वी काइंड ऑफ सेग्रेटिंग इनकम इफेक्ट को सब्सटीट्यूशन इफेक्ट को अलग से, राइट. तो उसके लिए लाइक इफ़ वी जस्ट कंसिडरिंग ओनली इनकम इफेक्ट में क्या होता था, हमारा पैरेलल शिफ्ट होता था. लाइक हम इनकम को कम करेंगे, सो देर इज़ नो चेंज इन द स्लोप, देर इज़ ओनली अ डाउनवर्ड shift in the this budget constraints, which is like representing by this line. So our movement from E to E dash, this is income effect, because यहाँ पे हमारा slope में कोई change नहीं है, right, there is only change in the income, so that is showing the income effect. But if you look at the movement from E hat to E dash here, this will show substitution effect, क्योंकि यहाँ पे हमारा like we are on the same indifference curve, utility is same, what is changing, the slope is changing because of what, taxes की वजह से. So this is representing substitution effect, and as you can see हमारा जो income effect है, it is reducing consumption, एंड सब्सटीट्यूशन इफेक्ट इज इंक्रीजिंग प्रेजेंट कंजप्शन. तो जो नेट इफेक्ट होगा वो होगा लाइक सी नॉट पर ही आ जाएगी हम ई नॉट पे. नेक्स्ट, सो द नेट इफेक्ट इज दैट कंजप्शन विल रिमेन हियर ओनली एंड सेविंग विल नॉट चेंज. दैट्स इट. ओके, सो व्हाट लाइक कैन वी से कि हमारा टैक्स नॉन डिस्टॉर्शनरी है क्योंकि हमारी सेविंग चेंज नहीं हुई. So we would say no. Why? Because tax is distortionary as long as it causes the individual to substitute between current and future consumption along his or her IC. So जहाँ पे भी हमारा substitution हो रहा है, we cannot say कि हमारा tax non distortionary है, because जहाँ पे substitution होता है, like we are substituting between two goods, two commodities. Here that is current and future consumption. So distortion is there. एज यू कैन सी फ्रॉम द ग्राफ ऑल्सो कि पहले हमारा कंजप्शन जो था फ्यूचर कंजप्शन वो C1, और इन दिस केस इनकम इफेक्ट के में यहाँ पे था. बट बिकॉज ऑफ द आफ्टर टैक्स हम देखें तो फ्यूचर कंजप्शन, प्रेजेंट कंजप्शन तो सेम है लेकिन फ्यूचर कंजप्शन हैज़ रिड्यूस सब्सटेंशियली. तो वी कैन नॉट से कि वो डिस्टॉर्ट नहीं करा, इट हैज़ डिस्टॉर्टेड अवर प्रेफरेंसेस. ओके, so now what we say, like if we would have a lump sum test. So lump sum tax में क्या होता है कि it is more like income effect only, यानी कि lump sum tax है तो our income will fall, that's it. income will fall, it means like there is only income effect, तो हमारी जो budget constraint है वो parallelly shift हो जाएगी downward and we would somewhere here. ठीक है, but and for any level of revenue, individual will be better off with the lump sum tax with the interest income tax. It is not much explained in the text in the book, so I'm also keeping it short for this. So here, like, you just need to keep in mind that for lump sum tax there is only a parallel shift in the budget constraint. That's it. If we now look toward the taxation of labor income, let's say it is W, it's a wage. So now also we need to make a decision, and here we are considering there are two commodities are labor and consumption, and that individual or a laborer has to decide whether he wanted to work less or consume more, like work less or more respectively. Like if he would work less, or he will prefer more leisure, he would work less, he would earn less, so he can consume less. So in that sense, like, the labor has to decide between these two, leisure and consumption commodities. So on x-axis we have a leisure, y-axis we have consumption, and let's say this is our constraint line only, budget constraint before tax, LC, and we are here at E point consuming this much laser and this much consumption. Let's say this is after tax budget line. If there is a tax, then what happens? Because tax lagega here, this point is representing what? Individual is not working at all, right? So if an individual is not working at all, he has no income, तो टैक्स किस पे लगेगा? There is no tax. So our line is this after tax line will also start from here. So एक pivot करेगी, like, but if tax is imposing on the income like 50%, तो उसका consumption will reduce by half only. So this how we would get the after tax line, C dash L. Now similarly, जैसे हमने अभी तक पहले देखा था, we will do the same. This movement E to E dash would be the income effect, and E dash to E star would be substitution effect, and यहाँ पे दोनों effect are equal, so these are offsetting. There is no change in the work at all, like laser में कोई change नहीं आएगा, but our consumption has changed, so there is a distortion. So you can see, like, after tax what happened. Similarly we will kind of separate this between two, substitution effect and income effect. Substitution effect में क्या हुआ कि individual will work less, will enjoy more leisure because tax लग रहा है, so he has no incentive to work more, so he would wanted to work less. In case of income effect, this would make him or her to work more, because if there is a less income, he will consume less of all goods including leisure. If he's consuming less leisure, it means he is working more, and these two effects are offsetting, like they will cancel each other out, and whoever dominates will win. Now we are looking for a different cases, like this is our labor supply curve, backward bending labor supply curve. Labor supply curve. So if we look at this part, हमने देखा था, this is a part where our income effect will will dominate substitution effect. What it means, मान लो कि हमारी before tax हमारी wage यहाँ पे थी, right, at this point, but after tax क्या होगा कि हमारी wage will reduce here, so we will reach somewhere here at this point. If we look at it, the x-axis, that is showing labor, it means the labor would increase after tax. Yani the individual is working more after imposition of a tax. So this is the case when income effect dominates substitution effect, there would be less leisure and more work. And this point will show the substitution effect, like let's say like this is the wage before tax and this is the wage after tax, so there is no much change in the labor hours, it will remain same, there is no change in the leisure. And this upward sloping part of the labor supply curve is basically showing for substitution effect dominates income effect. In this case, let's say this is a wage before tax, this much of a labor, and then after tax wage reduced to this, and the labor also reduces to this. So in this, the individual will work less and labor more. So that is the case for it. Like, we need to keep in mind this figure, because this is very important, kind of summarizes whole, that how the labor is going to make decision about uh, the consumption and labor when there is a tax imposed. This figure is very important. Like, this is when the labor is very elastic, the labor supply is very elastic, right? It is like totally inelastic, perfectly inelastic, then it's relatively more inelastic. So how the different decisions the labor will going to take also depend on the supply curve, at which part we are, right? And next is effect of progressive taxation. So far whatever we have covered, we have done only proportional taxes, right? Whether it was like the इनकम टैक्स, like interest income tax देखा था हमने, and different taxes, they were all proportional. Now we will look at progressive taxation, and इसका जो example है very common is income tax. हमने देखा होगा like income taxes की, like it has a different bracket, 0%, then we have 15%, something like 28%, or 35%, or 40%. There are different brackets and it is increasing marginally. So these kind of tax we call progressive taxation. Now we're considering a case where let's suppose there is a low income individual, and low income individuals will get earned income tax credit, which is in simple word wage subsidy. मतलब अगर किसी की इनकम बहुत कम है अप टू अ पॉइंट तक, तो उसको वेज सब्सिडी मिलेगी फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट, एंड आफ्टर दैट पॉइंट लाइक वो पार कर जाएगा, लाइक दैट्स एज अ थ्रेशोल्ड. उसके बाद ही इज़ नॉट कमिंग इन टू अनदर लो इनकम कैटेगरी, देन he will not be given wage subsidy, and he will face a tax beyond a certain level, right? So keep in mind this one thing, wage subsidy, and this is a figure which we will be following here. तो उसमें like जो चीज़ ध्यान रखने वाली है, you just need to keep in mind कि this point see तो बेसिकली इसके राइट में देयर वुड बी वेज सब्सिडी. यहाँ पे देयर इज अ वेज सब्सिडी, लाइक नो टैक्सेशन, एंड टू द लेफ्ट ऑफ सी देयर इज नो वेज सब्सिडी, एंड द इंडिविजुअल हैज़ टू पे टैक्स. ठीक है, this C is that threshold. So this LL is our budget constraint before tax, and this जो red line है हमारी, it has a different segments basically. ये जो budget line है budget constraint है, इसमें it has a different segments, like we will talk about it also. L to A, then from A to B, then we have like B to C, then C to D. So this red line basically showing after tax budget constraint. So this point LA, you can see like here LA is steeper than the before tax BC, this line, right? And AB is parallel to this, and this part BC interval is flatter than this old budget line, and CD is also flatter than this budget line. एंड नाउ वी विल कैटेगराइज इंडिविजुअल कि वो बहुत ही कम काम करेगा, मॉडरेटली काम करेगा, और ही इज़ वेरी हार्ड वर्किंग. तो फर्स्ट केस में हम देखते हैं इंडिविजुअल हु वर्क्स वेरी लिटिल. तो दैट काइंड ऑफ इंटरवल विल चूज अ पॉइंट इन द इंटरवल एल ए. लाइक यहाँ पे जो इंडिविजुअल है ये, इट इज़ वर्किंग वेरी लिटिल, एंड ए बी वाला जो इंडिविजुअल है, it is moderately working, and this BC individual is very hard working. ठीक है, तो जो इंडिविजुअल कम काम कर रहा है, सो इन दैट केस वी विल सेग्रीगेट इसका जो इफेक्ट होगा टैक्स का इन टू पार्ट्स, सब्स्टिट्यूशन इफेक्ट एंड इनकम इफेक्ट. सो सब्स्टिट्यूशन इफेक्ट में क्या होगा, लाइक इफ ही इज़ वर्किंग लेस, इट मीन्स वॉट, लाइक ही मस्ट हैव अ लो वेज इंडिविजुअल, he would be a low wage individual. So in this case में क्या है, उसको क्या बेनिफिट है लो वेज इंडिविजुअल होने का? ही इज़ गेटिंग वेज सब्सिडी फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, एंड ही डोंट हैव टू पे एनी टैक्सेस. सो वेज सब्सिडी का क्या फ़ायदा होगा, दैट हिज इनकम विल इंक्रीज मतलब उसको कम काम करके जो पैसा कम मिल रहा था, नाउ ही विल गेटिंग वेज सब्सिडी ऑल्सो, तो उसकी जो ओवरऑल इनकम विल इंक्रीज, ही इज़ बेटर ऑफ, ही इज़ गेटिंग मनी विदाउट डूइंग वर्क, सो ही इज़ बेटर ऑफ. अगर वो बेटर ऑफ है देन ही वुड चूज टू वर्क लेस, राइट. अगर हमारे पास अच्छा पैसा आ रहा है बिना कुछ करे, so we would go for hard work, we would work less, right. So this is income effect. And other one is, this is showing income effect. And other benefit is also like we don't have to pay any taxes. So if he work more, he don't have to pay tax. It means his income would increase, like his return to working would increase. ज़्यादा काम करिए ज़्यादा पैसा कमाएगा, so he would want to work more. He has no disincentive or like कि उसकी सैलरी कम हो जाएगी because he have to pay tax. So he is not worrying about that. He would work more. So this is substitution effect. And these two effects are like offsetting. जो भी dominate कर जाएगा, he would win that. Now the second one is individual who works a moderate amount of work and he is choosing a point in interval AB. Moderate amount कर रहा है. We have seen that कि जो हमारा AB था, it was parallel to our budget original, like old budget constraint. So the shift was only because of the income. So here there is only income effect. Income effect में हमने क्या देखा था अभी कि he would work less. So obviously like if he is getting wage subsidies, so his income would increase, he is better off, he would decide to work less unambiguously. Okay. And third category is for a hardworking individual in the interval BC. So here also we will segregate between income effect and the substitution effect. Similarly, in income effect he would decide to work less, and in substitution effect he will decide to work more. He will decide to work more. Now CD is a segment where he has no wage subsidy. And also he is facing an income tax. So individual words of, क्योंकि इनकम टैक्स भी पे करना पड़ रहा है उसको, सो उसकी जो ओवरऑल इनकम है इट हैज़ रिड्यूस्ड, सो ही इज़ वर्ड्स ऑफ. उसके अगर इफेक्ट को देखें, वी विल डिवाइडेड बिटवीन सब्स्टिट्यूशन इफेक्ट एंड इनकम इफेक्ट. सो उसका जो रिटर्न टू वर्क था दैट विल रिड्यूस, क्योंकि अगर वो सोचता है कि मैं बहुत काम करता हूँ फ्यूचर में, फिर भी मुझे टैक्स देना पड़ेगा बहुत ज़्यादा, सो उसका फ़ायदा नहीं है. लाइक he won't be encouraged enough to go for work, for working, because his returns from working is has reduced, so he will decide to work less. And in case of an income effect, he will work more, because now he has less income, he would earn less, so he would go like, okay, I need to work more in order to like to consume more or whatever, to have more options, so he would work more. So in this also it is ambiguous. So if we just summarize the everything, so after case में, in case of earned income tax like wage subsidy, individual is choosing finally point E, which is by the intersection or tangent point of IC with the new budget constraint. And because यहाँ पे why point E, क्योंकि यहाँ पे हमारी जो utility है individual की is maximized here given the budget constraint. So that's the point. And here this would be the level of leisure he was taking, right? So this difference is what this is showing that work he is going for a work for this much of hours or units. So what is the point is that he at last is choosing to participate in labor force when he is facing or when he has a wage subsidy wali scheme, right? So he has an incentive to participate in labor force and it will increase. But now we have another case also. This is a case for welfare payments, like welfare payment is W, like that a person is getting. So individual will choose what, उसको payment मिल रही है, he will choose full leisure. उसको बिना ही करे कुछ मिल रहा है, then he will not work, so there is no work. Now the basically what the text our this chapter is trying to, this portion is trying to say that which one is good, like if a person is getting a wage subsidy or is getting a wage welfare payment. So subsidy is like it is you will get it according to the amount of work you are doing, right? जितना आप काम कर रहे हो उसके हिसाब से you are getting wage subsidy. जैसे जैसे आपकी let's say if your level of hard working getting increased, तो आपको जो marginal interest है वे subsidy का is getting reduced, right? So it is depend on the number of hours you are working and on different things, but you are at least participating. But in case of welfare payment, it is like you will get this much money, you don't need to work at all. So there is no incentive for the individual to participate in labor force, and here there is incentive to participate in labor force. So the main concern here, the our next topic is providing that what participation versus arts decision, what one should consider first. So in this, like, most economists believe that the participation decision is far more important than arts decision. And why this is so? Why participation in labor force is so much important? This is very important. Like, you should keep in mind. First is attachment to labor force brings with it education, skills, and a sense of belonging to society, and it's contribute to social stability. I would suggest just, like, इसको तो आप as it is ही याद कर लो, it would be better for you, because like if a person is participating in labor force, like he's interacting on day to day basis, he need to have some skills in order to be able to work, right? He must have some education, so it is kind of promoting education, culture, skills, a sense of belongingness to society. So it is kind of creating a more stable, healthy, wealthy kind of a society. Whereas if there is no one working, it is kind of very depressing to see, because people have no aspiration to get education, because they know, like, we don't have to work hard, we don't need to sharpen or upgrade our skills, because हमें तो like welfare payment के नाम पे, like, we will get allowances equivalent to welfare allowances could be like unemployment allowances जो मिलती हैं different country west में मिलती हैं. It is more like it. So it is not encouraging them to participate in the labor force. They are okay with that if they are unemployed. So, and second point is that for many jobs, like, discretion over the number of hours is limited than the discretion of participation. So basically what it is, like, अगर आप, if you are unemployed, you wanted to get employed, अगर आप कहीं पे जाते हैं in any organization to work, so you are not in that position to bargain about like whether how many hours you wanted to work, because आप जब भी interviews में जाते होगे, you would see, you cannot say ना कि like I just wanted to work 3 or 4 hours a day or this much hours of a week. No, like, that is usually depends on the organization you are working with, like what its working culture is about, and it might be flexible. It depends on different situations, business cycles, that sometimes organizations पे ज़्यादा काम होता है, so you will have to work more number of hours, and when there is a relaxation period, you definitely will have to work lesser. So depend on more on that, like it's not very strict to say that I will just do this much or this much number of hours, and you are not in the position to say that also. So this is more about this chapter. There is also little like left about it's very theoretical and different things, so I won't think that you need to go in that depth right now. So just prepare this much, but revise it multiple times. It will help you, and thank you very much.